Welcome to the 3% Podcast. This is Chad Post from Open Letter Books, and I'm here with Tom Roberts from Riff Raff.
Hello.
And we're going to do an episode that's more or less just a bunch of random hodgepodge of things to talk about or go into. It'll be probably a short one, but we at least wanted to get something out there because it's been a few weeks. I've been traveling. You've been really busy too. But before we get into anything, I saw this on Twitter this morning, and I absolutely just going to read it to you blank. It's from it was a tweet from Steve Holt, and it's a book by Pele that was written. I don't know when. I can't find the information, but here's the description. It's World Cup time, the final competition for the hardest fought title in sports. In the stands, soccer fans from around the world have come to cheer on their teams. Emotions will run high, and in an atmosphere electrified by national pride and politics, riots may erupt over a disputed or prejudicial call by a referee. There are intense feelings on the field as well, for the American club, the Booters, have defied the laws of chance and logic and will play the East German team in New York for the title. A winning U.S. soccer team was as unlikely as the choice of an American stadium for the final game, but sparked by the fading yet peerless Brazilian star, Grillo the Grasshopper, known around the world, the Booters have made it to the World Cup.
Jesus. Is this a real book?
Yeah, it is absolutely 100% a real book. It's called The World Cup Murder.
From when?
I don't know. He just has all the pictures on here, and I didn't have a chance to look it up, but it's, but like, none of that works that way, like, at all.
No. Also, they gave away quite a bit of the plot.
Yeah. Nothing's as good as the U.S. soccer team is named the Booters.
That is terrible.
It's super. Oh yeah, it's okay. So the World Cup Murder is on Goodreads. It has 7 votes and a 4.29 rating. It came out in 1988.
4.2 is out of 10 or 5?
5.
5. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of 5-star ratings on this. I don't get that. I can't imagine this is good. But yeah, it came out in November 1st, 1988. Which might have been a World Cup year. Yeah, it would have been, right? No, it wouldn't have.
No. 90.
Definitely not. Yep, 90 and 86. So weird, very weird.
So
Anyway,
we're not doing our little tournament this time around, which is a lot of work, to be fair.
I really wanted to, and I wanted to make it like more interactive, but there's just no time to really get it all organized. And also like no one really came and was like, "Hey, I want to help put this together."
Yeah.
So I think people are satisfied with the whatever the morning news tournament of books. They
Right.
think that's fine. They're satisfied with that, and whatever. By the way, this book, the World Cup Murder, it's part of a series. One of the other books in the series is called Murder at the Super Bowl.
Oh God. So there's like a World Series one, a Stanley
And the
Cup
third one is
one.
Murder at the World Series. This is okay. This is getting weirder. So it's okay. All those sports stars are like guest writers, and there's a main writer named Herbert Reznikow, and okay, I'm gonna make you guess. So Herbert Reznikow wrote all 3 of these, but he has a sports star affiliated with each one. Murder at the Super Bowl came out in 1986. Who do you think the football player that wrote with him is?
Terry Bradshaw.
Close. Fran Tarkenton.
Okay.
And then the baseball one came out in, I'm going to say 90. Is this loading? 1989. Wow, they really pumped that one. And it's Herbert Reznikow and one of your stars from your team.
Oh God. Really? But it had to be somebody retired. So,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
Gary Carter.
Close, very close. I guess one more.
Not Keith Hernandez.
No, Tom Seaver.
Seaver. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Tom Seaver retired in 86, so he would have retired just
Yeah.
beforehand. That one, actually, the Beanball Murder at the World Series.
Beanball.
Its rating is 2.67, so not
Yeah.
so good.
Well, it's always weird. Well, I guess the World Cup. Never mind. I was gonna say, like, how do you set something in a plot where, like, the World Series goes back and forth between 2 cities over the course of 10 days?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. This one just randomly decided that like somehow the World Cup decides on where the final game is going to be held at some point along the way.
Yeah,
which is definitely not how that works.
3 days before the championship, we'll just pick a city,
Yeah.
put it.
And a Brazilian player can't play for a U.S. team, but whatever,
No, nope, that can't happen either.
Don't,
Um,
don't look too closely at the details.
I am not at all heartbroken that the U.S. is not in the World Cup.
I was
But
actually going to ask you if you're going to watch more of it because of that.
possibly because all the American fans won't be around. I won't have to worry about that. Like
Yep.
that sort of that horrible cloud of American jingoism over everything.
Do you think that's why there aren't as many World Cup books this year?
Um, no, because those would have had to have been in the works long before the U.S. failed to qualify.
Yeah, but they're usually just sort of dump books. They're not like books that people have
Sure.
written.
Yeah.
'Cause I found when I was moving offices that I wrote an article about during the last World Cup for Publishers Weekly about all the World Cup books that were coming out and soccer related books. There's a lot of soccer related books. So like World Cup adjacent, and there's a ton, and I haven't seen any of them this year.
I mean, I see all the catalogs and I haven't seen anything. And I will say, don't you feel like they've sort of done everything? Like they're
Yeah.
all meant to be like primers for like this is how it works, and it's like you can't just do that every 4 years.
Yeah, yeah.
I
The
mean,
one that I
yeah,
got that I was most disappointed by was the one that was like Club 101, and I thought it was going to be all about like the history of different. It's billed as like the history of different clubs throughout Europe, but it's like and throughout the world. But really, it was just like one page descriptions of every soccer team, like when they were formed. It was like Wikipedia. It was like printing
yeah,
Wikipedia.
yeah.
Global search, soccer Wikipedia. Well, first, I want to say also congratulations to Emma on winning the Albertine Prize,
Yes, thank you on her behalf, I guess.
which
Sure.
which is super cool.
She's here, but getting ready to go to open our store. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. I mean, we found out a few weeks before because they had to like schedule her being there and all that sort of thing, and plan to get the author there. It's a very weird thing that they tell people in advance, but don't tell the public. And then, of course, on the night of, they didn't have all five French authors there. They don't all live in New York or nearby.
Yep.
It's a very strange thing. And
That's
like they had this whole thing, like it was drama, and like, oh, who's gonna win? It's like, well, only Anne is there.
yeah.
Like, clearly Anne is going to win. It's very strange.
It is kind of weird. Like they could do it like as a live video, like the announcement of the winner, and then have the celebration separate.
Yes, I don't know. They're obviously this is only the second year. They're clearly still sorting it out. But yes, Emma went down to New York, and there's a whole big ceremony with the French. They have no shortage of money for these kind of things. So
Yeah. Is last year was pretty nice. It was really pretty swanky and very cool. So that's good. What did she get a trip to France and a big award?
oh, I forgot about the trip to France part. I should ask her about that.
She's actually on her way now. You're
She
just like,
forgot to tell me that. No, you're
wait.
right. There is a trip to France, and the money is split like 80-20, I think.
Oh, for her she gets 80, right?
Right.
What?
No, come on.
That's garbage.
It's the author won a prize. Emma just, that's what it's based on. But
But
yeah, I think she
yeah, although this prize wouldn't exist without her.
right.
Like literally. Like it's not like it's
Uh,
a French the French book's not even under consideration.
right. This is not a French prize.
And
It's
it's
not
like a popularity voting contest from readers that are reading in English.
right.
Oh, that's silly. That's
It's
that.
silly. And apparently, Anne, who was a very gracious woman, tried to get them to split it down the middle,
Oh, really?
and they refused. So,
That sucks. That really sucks.
I mean, who knows? Maybe when Emma gets the actual check, things will have been sorted out, but I'm not optimistic.
That's silly. Um,
Anyway, prizes.
yeah,
You
and
won a
and
prize too.
what's that?
You won a prize as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, Will Vanderhyden and Rodrigo won the Best Translated Book Award for The Invented Part, which was pretty cool. And I didn't know that they'd won until it was announced by Patrick during the New York Rights Fair. So it's nice to be in the dark, like what you're saying of like knowing ahead of time that you're going to win and
Yeah,
not talking about it. It's way more fun to just not know what's happening.
right.
But congratulations to them. That's a great book. I hope that really I hope it really gets more attention. You know what's sort of insane is that I don't think that there's been any U.S. coverage of that except for in shelf awareness, whereas the top newspapers in 5 different Spanish-speaking countries featured Rodrigo, an article about him winning, and a full picture of him in every single one. There's like the front section of the culture, front part of this culture section in El País with a giant photo of him. And like author wins, Rodrigo Fresán wins major award in the United States. And here in the United States, the media is like, can't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So stupid. Our country sucks. But I mean, I guess they're just probably saving up all their like 4 inches of space for the National Book Award in translation. So you don't want to blow that 4 inches of print space at all.
Yeah. Which reminds me, okay, so we're here to maybe sort of talk about BEA a little bit.
Yes.
Were you on the floor at BEA at all?
Yeah, I went there for a few hours.
Yeah, same with me. I basically saw like a few people I wanted to see, small publishers who I hadn't actually met in person somehow over the years. And then that was that. And then I was down where we were at well, before we get to that. So did you feel that BEA was, as billed, reimagined?
Nope.
No.
It seems
It felt
exactly the
very
same as it always was.
Yes. I actually got a survey thing
Uh-huh.
from the ABA because my pass was free because we're a ABA member.
Yeah.
So they asked, it was this long survey about, did it feel easier to meet editors? Did it feel any different for this reason? They had all these questions basically about, did it feel more useful, right? That was the crux of the whole damn thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it's anonymous. Also, I'm never going to be angling to be on the ABA board. So I just sort of answered really honestly. And I was like, no, it didn't feel any fucking different because Random House takes up, an acre of floor space and City Lights and Haymarket are sharing a 10 by 10 square.
Yeah.
So no, the playing field is still not fair. Everyone is getting drowned out by the big 5 publishers. It's still just a bunch of celebrity garbage. It's just not useful for a bookstore that wants to be an independent bookstore.
Yep.
And I was actually like pretty disheartened when I got back because it was I'd had some interactions, and I'm not going to get into like the gritty details because it's not worth it, but just some interactions with people that sort of indicated that like the larger publishers it's a lot of hypocrisy in that they claim to love independent bookstores and they pay a lot of lip service to all this, and everything that big publishers do for small bookstores is sort of heralded as like this, wonderful blessing from above and all that sort of stuff. And then when it comes down to it, if you're not ordering their books, you can fuck right off.
Yep.
Like if you actually have an independent minded bookstore and are trying to find interesting things and you actually have like a taste and a direction you're trying to stock your shelves with, they don't actually want that. They want you to just take, the $27 hardcover debut novel by somebody you've never heard of that, is like somebody's darling and have 6 copies of it on the table. And it's like, I don't want to do that. And when you don't do that, they stop paying attention to you. And, it's not like they're not filling my orders or whatever. It's just like, it's very obvious that, we are, they they made an effort to like sell us all those things. And now that we're not doing it, they're just like a little frustrated with us.
Yep.
But that's not really, you should be happy that we are trying hard to just find the right things. And when we do find the right things, we'll sell the hell out of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was a little frustrated with big publishing after BEA.
I think it goes back to like one of these old MBA sort of strategies where like you need to take up as much shelf space as possible. Like there's less interest in like creating quality products as there is of like blocking someone else from having a product that's available for sale. So like when you have like grocery stores will put up like the same grocery store just a few blocks away if there's a threat that like a different grocery store would come in there because it's cheaper for them to like duplicate than it is to have someone cut into their sales. And I think, and like the Post cereal and Kellogg's cereal are notorious for like creating cereals that they aren't going to sell, they don't care, but they at least fill up that space so that there's no third party that gets onto the shelf. This is like an old school way of doing stuff, and I feel like the big publishers and publishing are doing something like that. They just want to block things, just get all their shit on every shelf. And if it doesn't work, who cares? At least there's nothing else there. Like, they're going to get as much of the revenue as possible. Similar to what people complain about Amazon for, but like, it's easy to complain about Amazon and a lot more complicated, apparently, to complain about Penguin Random House. Who, also, FYI, Penguin Random House UK, I'm like disliking UK presses, still owes us goddamn money. They published a book that we published. They published Death in Spring. They bought our rights to the translation. They've not paid us. They've printed that book and are selling and promoting it. And I'm annoyed, and I want that publicly on record.
Yeah, there's a lot to complain. I mean, when you're as big as Penguin Random House and you distribute that many books, and the whole reason for them existing, let's be honest, as a corporation is to make more money, I understand where it all goes. I just, on a personal level with the people I deal with, would not like to feel like pressured into carrying things I don't. And they don't pressure me per se. It's just, it's very obvious that like when we don't order certain things, they're just confused and sort of stop sort of paying attention and stop trying. And that's fine. Like, look, I don't need their big old whatever Trump book. I can find other things. But that's the thing. I'm going to, because there are people out there at small presses who it's very easy to talk to these days. And I think that's part of what you're talking about. It's very easy to reach out to all these publishers from all over the country and get books and get information and all that sort of stuff in a way it wasn't easy even 10 years ago, that maybe they are feeling a little pressure. And maybe they're a little jealous of, the Grey Wolves and coffee houses and those medium-sized small publishers winning prizes that they are not winning,
Yeah. Yeah. It's becoming really hierarchical again. Too.
Yes, it is.
Worse than ever before, it seems like, although it's probably not true. It just feels that way. Like, even within the indie presses, is becoming a big separation between lower and middle.
Right. I was talking to another bookstore owner who I won't name, but they were saying, it's like, I was saying, like, it just seems like it's gotten worse. And they said, no, it's always been horrible. Don't feel like it's getting like end times. It's just always been bad.
So you think you're going to go back to BEA? Is there anything BEA could do that would make it more interesting or valuable?
That's funny. That was a question on the survey, of course.
Oh,
and
wow.
I lobbied pretty hard for the, which I always do, the Winter Institute model, wherein the number of representatives that any one publisher can send is limited to like 3 or 5 or something ridiculous like that. And so it levels the playing field, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they still do the whole, which I hate beyond anything, the whole like small presses, and like there's a small press author night at Winter Institute, and then a regular author night. And it's like, an author is an author, a publisher is a publisher. Let's stop doing this.
Well, you can move from small press to the regular one if you pay them an extra $5,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the issue.
Yep.
They should call it rich publishers, small presses.
I would love that if they just called it exactly what it was, like most expensive sponsor night. People give us the most money.
But I mean, I think that's a far more useful way of, at least from a book selling side, and from somebody like your side, and I did this for New Directions or whatever, but like the idea that you have a chance to talk to booksellers simply by being there, and you don't have to shout over the very large monster publisher that's behind you.
Yeah,
would really benefit publishers more, I think, or benefit more publishers more small ones, obviously. But it would also benefit booksellers who, let's be realistic, the reason most booksellers from across the country are coming to BEA is not the reason that I go, which is because I used to live in New York and want to see people and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
They are going because they really do feel like they need to find the next cool thing they're going to sell in their store. If they could like really easily navigate from, all the publishers out there and find the things that are going to be interesting for them, wouldn't that be more useful to booksellers instead of just being yelled at about the next celebrity biography? I don't know. It just seems...
It really would. I mean, I thought the one way, I know the numbers wouldn't work. Like I assume the numbers wouldn't work, but it would be amazing if like all of a sudden all booths were basically the same size, and they were like $2,000,
Yeah.
and like that was it. And all of a sudden you've got like all these presses. Does New Directions even go anymore? They don't have a booth, do they?
I I pulled the plug on that when I started working there.
That's what I thought. Okay, so they're not there. Like you could have like 1,400 new presses that are going to that because they could afford to, and it would be, valuable. And then you'd be able to see like a real wide berth of the publishing industry, and not just like one little sliver of it. That's gonna. I mean, no one. Penguin Random House doesn't need this show. Those books are gonna
Yep.
get in the stores. They're gonna get all the attention. It's already locked down. It's not like it's some goddamn mystery. I mean,
Right.
it's like it's whatever. Ugh, so silly, so silly. But like it's all already predetermined with that, so they don't need that. So like, make it for the publishers or for the booksellers that are going, allow them to see so much something different. I would
Right.
appreciate that. If I were a bookseller, I would think that would be more fun. Did you go to the New York Rights Fair side of things?
So when we went to the panel that you were on,
Mm-hmm.
followed by the announcement for the BTBA winners, um, yes, I was with a bookseller, Stephanie, and
Yeah,
sort of wandered into the ground floor and heck, because we had no idea where anything was, and
yeah.
sort of walked around there real quick, and it was so quiet and cavernous, and like the ceiling was low, and it was weird. It was very weird. Just a weird building to have it in, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do that. They did sign the agreement, so they are partnering with BookExpo. So now BookExpo, that used to be a little right section that they kind of ignored, and the regular exhibition hall, and then they reimagined it by getting rid of the right section and adding more stages to the floor or whatever. Now it's like now it's back to the same thing. They're like reimagining what they used to be, but I don't know if they're going to be at the same space. That's all unclear to me. But the fair itself, like the idea was to have it like where it's a little bit more cozy and not the Javits Center, and a little bit more like the London Book Fair in terms of like that kind of setting. And that part was sort of successful. Like I had meetings there, a lot of them, and it was fine. Like it was much more what's the word I'm looking for? Like not casual, but like whatever, intimate, and like not quite so like blaring,
Right.
crazy Javitsy, right?
Right.
And that was very nice. The problem that they face, and I think that they'll always face, is that all these foreign rights people are coming to sell books to Americans, and the American editors are like, we're not going there because we don't want to buy your shit. Like you can come visit us in our office. So most of the time that people were there, they were all over at Random House's offices having meetings there because the Random House editors wouldn't come to the fair. And I said to someone else under a survey sort of thing for that, but I'll say it now, is that I think the only way that you can get American editors to come down there is if you have their counterparts from Europe. So the European editors all coming there so that the American editors can sell them shit and seem cool. They're not going to go there because they don't want to buy these books. They don't care. Like we can pretend all we want. They just do not give a shit, and they will not take time out of their day to go learn about something from Belgium because they don't give a fuck.
Right. I mean, there's like a handful of editors in New York who probably made the effort, right? And
I don't know if there's a single one.
oh, come on, there had to be somebody,
I didn't
no?
see one. Not anyone from like New York.
But right, I think a lot of so okay, let's like when we talk about like Frankfurt, for example, or London, the people who go from the American publishers, not people like you, but like from Penguin, for
Hmm.
example, are going to sell Penguin's rights to these people, and then inadvertently hear about other things while they're there.
Yeah, and yeah, get in find the next big buzzy books. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, but like you're saying, so like the rights fair is since it's just a one-way thing, people trying to sell the rights to Croatian novels, the American editors, you're right, they just have no interest.
Nope.
Don't see the value.
Nope. And then yeah, and so it's always the same group. It's like I'm exasperated today. I'm tired. Just tired of all of it. Um, yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen with that at all, but like I'm glad that it, I was glad that it existed, and I think it was like a nice setting. I just wish that there was a little bit more something.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a solution at all, apart from everyone just sort of doing business the way they've been doing it, which is like the woman, was she Spanish on your panel?
Oh, Marlene?
Yeah,
No, no, she's Dutch. But she lives in California. She's an agent representing a lot of overseas publishers
right. And
here,
so
right?
she goes to their offices and does that, and she's like, yeah, that's just how it goes. Like,
Yeah, that's what she was the one that said that she didn't have a single meeting there
right,
because every editor was like, no, you can come see me here.
right, exactly.
She pitched the book that Stephen Sparks and I were trying to write on, like the 100 best translations, um, and that no one wanted, and sent varying levels of insults to us about it. That book's coming out from Boyd Tonkin. Wrote a book called The 100 Best Translations, like, and it's available in the UK now. So apparently it was a good idea, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably not a way to fix it, and they should just let it die. It's natural death and free up everyone's time. Honestly,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
I did go right from there. Like I've been sick since the last time I saw you, which is awesome. But I went from there to the Translators Bread Loaf, or whatever it's called, Bread Loaf's Translators Literary Conference, or Translation Loaf or whatever, which was freezing, and is where I got sicker and sicker. But that was actually for the first time. Like usually I like going to BA even if it's sort of depressing, because I like see the people. We go to the New Directions party. There's like some sort of like I don't see those people a lot, and it's great, and there's like a bit of a buzz that you can get from it, right? And I didn't really get that so much this time, but the Translators Conference actually did much more so, which is surprising because usually that's like work. Like I have to give a speech on contracts, and I have to meet with people who are going to pitch me their projects. But it was like remarkably both relaxed in that regard, but also like everyone was very interesting. So it was like much better. Like I felt much more reinvigorated by that, even though I was like dying, and still am. But then I was from BEA, which is just a bit of a surprise, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I was trying to say at the beginning. I was so discouraged by like the publishing industry as a whole.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
and
it's really funny just the way the business is going. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's also this creeping feeling that I get from a lot of people who are just like, this all might collapse in 3 years. Like, might just die, and none of us will have jobs.
yeah,
Then I go back to the store, and people come in and buy dollars worth of books on a random Tuesday afternoon, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, people read. But
yeah. I guess, yeah. That's that's cool. That would be encouraging. Um, yeah, there was another topic I got to talk about, but I don't think we can do it. So I'm just going to allude to it. Was that there's at some point in time I want to go back to, it's like the worst sort of like segue or teaser, but at some point soon when this is all resolved, I'm gonna go back to talking like about translator contracts, like one chunk of an episode, and what to watch out for, because there's some tricky situations that are playing out in which a press is explicitly not honoring a contract by claiming that the translator has already been paid for their sample, and because they got paid to do the sample from a different organization, they don't have to pay them at all. The publisher doesn't, and it's a little bit complicated, a little bit more complicated than that, but not a lot. But at some point in the near future, when this is resolved, I want to talk about that, because I think translators need to be aware of certain things, and publishers need to be put on some sort of notice.
yeah, I think there's a couple of things related to that, which are the way that grants are used by publishers to avoid paying them.
This is very similar to that.
Very similar. I think they're I mean, these are basically like the money is from two different places. One is a grant, one is well, like a rights agency or whatever, an agent paying for the sample up front in order to show it.
Hmm.
But yes, these are things that the payment of the translator by the publisher itself should not be contingent on either one of those things.
Yeah, unless it's
Their
explicitly
own,
stated
yes, exactly.
and
Right.
agreed upon.
Agreed upon.
Yeah.
And if, there's things when like, oh, grants didn't come through, I can't pay you. Like that's not acceptable. That's totally not acceptable. If you sign a contract, you have to pay them. But
We
unfortunately what happens is people cancel contracts.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or they just find someone else. I was looking into a few things recently where because when I did this thing at Breadloaf, there's someone asking like, "Well, I want a Penheim grant for this translation. Will the publisher still pay me?" And I was like, "Absolutely, they should.
Yeah.
Like that should not count at all towards their
Right.
contract. Now, if you had been under contract already and it said something to the effect of like any monies that are received for this project, whatever, count towards this, then you'd be in like a grayer situation. But like if you already have it, whatever. But then I started looking into various things and noticed that like this is sort of unrelated. And I, again, don't want to name all the people involved, but like there's an author that came to my attention, and I saw that one of their books had already had come out, and was looking through my email and found that I'd received like a sample of that book that's now been published, and just missed it. But the sample that I got was translated from like a pretty prestigious translator. The book is not. And I know for a fact that the book is translated by someone I've never heard of because the publisher was like, I don't want to pay that. So if someone asks for too much money, you can always go find the cheaper, less experienced translator, which is something we've reiterated on here before. But I feel like recently I just saw it a bunch of times, and it sort of stood out as like your negotiating power is like real weak at this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. The paying a less experienced translator thing is also a problem because it makes it really hard for translators to fight for the money that they
Yeah.
should be paid. Really hard, especially in the more common Spanish and French, German
Yep.
languages where there's so many young translators looking for a break. And I mean, Emma has a friend, and I think it's also French. It might not be, but who like sent her a contract because it was her first thing out of school or whatever, and asked Emma to look at it, just give her some advice. And Emma showed it to me, and she's like, "I don't think she's getting paid. Do you see this?" And I was like, "No, she's basically agreeing not to get paid." And I told Emma, I was like, "Tell this woman this is crazy. She should not do this." And she's like, and the woman actually said, "I don't care. I just want my name on it. I need to get started." I was like,
Wow. Yep.
"Easy. That's crazy. I cannot." But I get, and on the same time, I get it. Like you need something to put on your resume.
Yeah. Yeah, that's rough though. Like for a full book. I heard someone that I was advising once that was working with a large publisher where they asked them to translate an Italian book, and their offer was like you have to do it in 6 weeks, and you'll get paid $1,500. And I was like, that's ludicrous. I was like, you should under like normal rights beginning under normal like terms get like $5,000. I was like, if you really want to get started in this, it was going to be like a first book. It's like, why don't you at least ask for like 3,000 in like a couple more weeks, because you're just going to churn this out and it's not going to be great. And
Right.
and they just were like, nope, that's cool. We'll find another person. So they just went and found a different person to do the book.
Right. And the problem is these publishers just do this serially and they don't spend any money on translation and yet at the same time do this thing where they think translators are important and translation is important. It's like, okay, great, but then you're fucking over an important part of this process.
I don't get how
Repeatedly.
we could never get away with that. Like if we paid someone, if we jilted anyone in that way, it would be a nightmare. But like there's huge corporations are like just blatant disregard for that sort of the being appropriate in pay structures and everything else, and seem to just be able to truck along just fine. Super
Well, there's also the
annoying.
issue of translators. I mean, yes, you have certain translators who, like, if it was revealed that you were paying translators like 8 cents a word or something, it would
Four.
be
I'm gonna go with four.
for word, then people would be really upset, right? Like you would be put on public notice, right?
Yeah.
But there are other translators who would say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to join in this dog pile because I still want to work for them." And do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to be blackballed or seen as difficult or any of those kind of things,
Yeah. It's
which is
all
a problem.
complicated.
There are some small publishers out there who do not pay very well, and people are afraid to badmouth them because that they worry about missing work in the future.
Yep. Yeah. It's all complicated balance, I suppose.
Well, I mean, freelancing in general, I suppose, is like that. It's just, I can't, like freelance, journalists or whatever don't have this same problem because it's just not discussed the same way.
Because there's no journalism.
Well, it's also just not, there's not like a mass of journalists who have some sort of organization the way that translators seem to have all these organizations that will go and, argue with publishers for better pay and all that sort of stuff. There's so many freelance journalists, and they're so far flung doing so many different things that there's not really there's no like cohesive force behind it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I should wrap up here because we have a meeting in a few minutes. But do you have any? I don't know if you've looked at this at all, but so now that we're moving on to the 2019 Best Translated Book Award, the 2018 one's all wrapped up. Congratulations again to Rodrigo Fresán and to Will Vanderhyden and to Eleni Vocalo, I think is how you say it, and Karen Emmerich, who won for Before Lyricism, which is published by Ugly Duckling. I was really glad that won because I love Karen
Yes.
and Ugly Duckling, and I've heard great things about that book, although I have not read it myself. But do you have any guesses as to next year?
Oh God.
I just wrote a post about this that's going to go live after this or before this. I don't know. It'll go sometime. I have to fix a few things because it's filled with depression and hating UK presses. I have to delete that.
Can't think of anything off the top of my head. Do you have some?
I do. I have several. The
Oh
first
wait,
one is,
I do have one.
what's your one?
Book that won the Booker.
Flights. No, yeah. Yeah. Okay, I don't like that book, but it's on here for sure. I think that's definitely going to be a finalist. But I think the first 150 pages of that book are great. The next 300 pages are not. But not to say anything, like the translation is good. Jennifer Croft's great, but I don't like it. The other one, the one that I think is the most obvious though, well, I think Pretty Things is possible.
I don't know. People are very hot or cold on Despentes.
Really?
Yeah, in general. I think people either really like what she does or just don't get it and don't like it. So it'd be hard, I think, to get a whole jury to get on board. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay. The other one that I think for sure is My Struggle, book
Oh
6,
God.
1,200
He hasn't won,
pages.
he hasn't won yet. I don't know why all of a sudden.
It would, but wouldn't it be like, yeah, a culmination that now that the whole project is done, you're honoring the whole project.
I don't know. What else?
Well, I can't give away the whole post, man.
Sure
I
you can. It'll be live by the time this is.
That's true. Brother in Ice by Alicia Kopf. I just started that. Again, not sure about it, but I think people will really love it. The Tea Singer by Dag Solstad. I think that's a finalist. And this book, Wait Blank by Gunhild Øyhag, I guess is how you say it. I think that could be a finalist. Those are the ones I wrote down. And then I put down Bottomless Sky and Fox and Endless Summer as books of ours that I think could be on here. And then I looked through, I had a lot more. The new Matthias Nard book. Oh, I just deleted that file. I had like 12 or 13 other ones, but I didn't have time to write all about all of them, so I'm saving those for later. But I've read like 45 translations so far from this year. And so far, I have to say, like, there's not a lot that have been like blowing me away. I think Empty Set's another possible long list
I think so
book,
too. Yeah.
but I don't think it overall holds up very well, or is
Right.
as imaginative as people initially were praising it for being. So I don't know if it would win, but like that's another one. And then there's always like the Frankenstein in Baghdad, which is
Oh
not
God.
great, and The Perfect Nanny, which is entertaining but too pulpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's just been a lot of things that I've been like, oh shit, this is amazing. But then I was looking when I was doing and trying to get this ready. I have all my books lined up by month, so I can just read one a week as I write these stupid columns. And all the ones that seem most interesting are coming out in like August and September.
Right.
So maybe that'll be when
Doing all of our
comes
meetings
around.
like this week and next week, so I'm still not entirely sure what's coming out, but
Yeah, I have to enter in all the consortium catalog stuff and all the new books into the database still. So I'm with you, but anyways, we'll see. If anyone has any suggestions or guesses, you should email them to us. It'd be fun to sort of banter about, I suppose.
yeah.
Um,
I think the Manchette was really, really good. I don't.
I was
It's such a weird book, though.
I was gonna put that on there, except I don't know because of where it ends. Frustrated me.
It's very frustrating, but yeah, I don't know what people will make of that. But I mean, to me, that's what kind of makes it an interesting thing.
Yeah,
Beyond the individual, like the story itself, like the what it represents from Manchette, from his career, and now it only existed because he didn't finish it in this way, and I think the translation was really good.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
really good. Like I think Donald is like so locked into the way Manchette was writing these books that he really, really nailed it. So I don't know. I can see it on the long list. I don't know if it would win. It's a
Yeah, I was
weird.
trying to figure out like shortlist ones,
Yeah.
which is a little bit trickier. Yeah. I'm glancing through again this list and like nothing's jumping out as like being like, oh yeah, obviously.
All right. So 2 weeks from now, right before the free agency hits and is open market, we should do a LeBron watch episode. Just 100% LeBron watch.
Because what people want more from this podcast
Yeah.
is is
I was
definitely
listening to an
sports.
NFL podcast yesterday where they brought in somebody who's like a NBA guy to talk about LeBron. I was like, this is an NFL podcast.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty fun to witness.
I
I'm
I
I'm
I can't
excited.
help but read everything I see about it though.
Oh yeah. All the
Just
speculation is so funny.
it's really fun.
It's
Yeah.
like,
This is like I no longer care who wins the Nobel because it's like, like you can't predict it. It's totally useless, right? Like
yeah.
somebody's gonna win. It doesn't matter, right? But like all those people who like try to prognosticate who's going to win the Nobel, this is me about LeBron James,
Oh my
right?
god.
I love it. I want odds. I love all these stupid stories about,
Where's
so and
kid?
so says his son is enrolled at his high school in LA.
Yep.
Back like all of that garbage. It's great.
Oh yeah, it really is. It really is. That's gonna be more entertaining than watching the. But I'm still baseball obsessed all the time, but like Cardinals are about to fall apart, so it's gonna be
Mets
great.
are terrible.
Mets are bad. Mets are really really bad.
Yeah.
I mean they and remember I was with you at the beginning of the season when they're like 14-2. It's like this. I don't think the underlying numbers are here for this, and that they came back to earth and then went way below below that.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, not good.
All right. We're boring people. You
Yep,
need to go.
I
I
need to
need
go too. Okay, well, I'll talk to you. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Maybe we could do one more before then if something pops up that's interesting. Otherwise, if you're listening to this, also you can listen to the 2 month review. The new season started on this past Thursday with Fox by Dubravka Greshik. We'll have a bunch of guests on talk about that, and then we're gonna go right from that into Pessoa's The Book of Disquiet. So those will be the next two parts of that. Tune into that. Also, if you rate us or like us on iTunes or whatever, that would be cool. Otherwise, send us information, send us feedback. If you want us to talk about particular articles, you can always email us at 3percentpodcast@gmail. I don't think I have anything else to add.
All right. Nope, me neither.
Cool. Okay. Have fun at the store. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, but
Bye.